excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I love the concept of bite-sized workshops. I can't wait to learn more about that. I saw some of the topics. I think the whole concept is really cool. And you are an active on social media, which is even cooler. So you figured out the balance. Maybe we can tap your brain a little bit on that today. So we all love to
I should
know
have my
about.
kids here, right?
You should. We all like to know a little bit about the person. So tell me about Toby Goldstein. Give us a little origin story.
Okay, great. So let's start. So we'll start a little bit with bite size. One thing about me is I cannot sit. It's like, oh my gosh, I cannot sit. I know I sat through school. I can sit. So that's, more than that with the idea of how bite size actually happened. Besides my not sitting, it's really, seeing the way we learn best. But interestingly, you asked me, Toby, going back 10 years ago, did you ever dream that this is what you're going to do? And absolutely not. I did never dream I'm going to be where I am today. So, asking someone what they want to be in 10 years, it was like, I'm up here. I can tell you this was not something I'm glad. It's actually something that happened. It was like that wham in the face. It was like, this is where I am. So, so this is actually where I am. And how it happened was actually, it was amazing. I would say it was like bop, bop, bop on the head until I got here.
So what were you doing before? What was the original plan?
So originally what I was doing, I was working in a nonprofit, which I really enjoyed. It was amazing. And I enjoyed it. And what happened was, as my work with the nonprofit, I realized that a few particular things make a tremendous, tremendous difference. I was setting up juniors and seniors for the workforce. I had such a great group of students. I loved them. But they so shocked me. I know teenagers shock you, but they really, really shocked me. What happened? I was like placing them at sites that they were interested. We were doing internships. So it was an introduction, out there to the career world. And I was making sure that I was sending them to places that they would like to work in. And I remember what happened is I went to one of my sites and the manager calls me over and the manager said, thank you so much for the students that you sent us. We're enjoying them. Let's move forward 2 weeks down the line. I had two great students at one particular site, a phenomenal, phenomenal site. Let's call them Josh and Jake. I had Josh and Jake at a phenomenal site. These two guys were great friends. I loved them. They were like full of energy, really got the ball going. And what happened was at the end of the summer, Josh got an internship at this particular place that he had work. Jake was like waved goodbye. And I was like, what was going on?
Sure.
And then I took a look at some of the data because I had interviewed them before. But then I said, you know what? Forget data a second. I'm picking up the phone. This is what we got to do sometimes is just pick up the phone and call. I called the manager. I'm like, I need some explanation. So the manager said, no problem. I'll give it to you. I'll tell you a little bit about Josh. Josh arrived on time. He collaborated well with everyone. He was creative. He was motivating. We loved him. We liked Jake also, but he was good just to have a good time with. He didn't really get much work done.
Fascinating.
Okay. So it was like just a great eye-opener. It was like, okay, yeah, you know what? This is cool. If you arrive to work on time, they like you. If you do your work well, you motivate others, they like you.
Amazing, right?
Right. I mean, that's like something that we know, right? But it was like just the weirdness that it actually had offered him the opportunity for an internship. And surprisingly, they were willing to pay for his college as well.
Wow.
So it wasn't just so basic. There's something really to it. But you know how we are. Great story. Filed away in the brain and forgot. Went on to life. Went to eat dinner. Went to do the laundry. Went to work. And just nice story. But it doesn't end there. And that was like, I know we got those bops on the head. Sometimes we just really need these bops to wake us up, for goodness sake.
True.
And it's, you know what? Sometimes I say if we don't have these bops, I'm just going to go ahead just to post this. But if we don't have these bops, sometimes we would just not be waking up.
So what did you, once you filed it away, how did you bring it back and now make it this is your work. This is what you do.
It was another bop on the head.
Another
so what happened was, it was another bop. There you go. I'm just tagging the people that asked me to tag them that we are live. So I don't even remember which people asked me to tag them over there. So I'm just going to start tagging some of them, and then we'll see from there. So what happened was, it was another BOP. I was working, as I'm saying, in this school, and let's just put that in there, and let's just see from there. So I was working in this school, and being that it was a school, we were running a couple of different things, and I was aware that I was working in the early childhood, and I liked children, and it was fascinating to see what was going on over there with the children, and just fascinating to see, what the children are capable of. And being that I was seeing what the children are capable of and what the children can go ahead to do, and I said, you know what, let's just jump straight into it, and let's give the teachers the skills that they need in order for them to really bring out the most from the children.
Right.
And I was giving a workshop. I love to talk. I like to, go ahead and just to share the things that make a difference. And I was sharing with the teachers, we were talking a little bit about emotional intelligence, and we were talking about how to regulate emotions, to interact well with one another, and to really share with other people. So we were busy talking over there. And one of the teachers just shared with me, and the teacher said, I don't understand what's going on, Toby. Can you give us a little bit of an explanation? Why are you spending so much time on emotional regulation? And it was, when things were pretty much new at that point, that emotional regulation was something I would say we didn't really talk about. It was emotional regulation. We weren't so well aware of what was going on.
What's emotional regulation?
Perfect. So emotional regulation is acknowledging the emotions that we're feeling, and then handling them and knowing how to portray them, share with them, deal with them, and take those action steps. Very similar to emotional intelligence. So I would say, at that point, they were pretty much aligned over there.
And so you figured out that giving them more of the tools, like the original guy had that actually got the internship and the college paid for, was a big stepping stone for them. But how did you figure out what it was that you could create?
So at that point, I was just giving them the tools because I noticed that unfortunately, many of us don't have these tools to succeed in life. So I took that step back over there, and I made sure that the teachers are giving students that particular skill. So it wasn't so much of the awareness yet, what soft skills are all about, but I wanted to make sure that the teachers have that capability. It looks like I'm on here myself. Ted, please come back on. You're here? Okay.
It's good for people to see you talking.
Oh, okay. I was like, oh my gosh, I hope all's good.
No, I won't do it again.
Then you could go ahead. So what ended up happening was I wanted to give the teachers the skills because I noticed that many of these skills is either inborn or we pick up very late in life. What do I mean? Somebody time management. Some of us know how to manage our time really well. Some of us don't have that skill. So either we pick it up or we don't pick it up and we mess it really badly on in life. So that choice is ours. But if we give that skill, the beauty of the soft skills is something that everybody can learn. Everybody needs it. And the younger we start, the better it is. So I was giving the teachers the framework how to teach the children. Right, because children need it in order for them to be like Josh, who had gotten that promotion, who got college paid for free, who's doing really well and is in a great position. And it's not only Josh, got more than that student there. So it was realizing, the importance of something like that. So I'm out there giving a workshop. There are about 14 teachers in the room. And I'm talking a little bit about emotional regulation. And one of the teachers just piped up. She was getting so frustrated. She's like, Toby, just cut it out. Stop talking about this nitty-gritty things that we don't even need, that are not even relevant in our life, and move on to the curriculum, which is something that I work with as well. Focus on that. Focus on what's important. And it became quiet. And I looked at her, and I was like, oh my gosh, I so get everything now. I was like, no wonder why no one wants to work with you. No parent wants a child in your class. I was like, are you kidding me? And then she continued. She's like, I don't need emotional regulation. Everybody around me handles my emotions well. They know when I get angry, We walk around eggshells. Be careful around her. You just did yourself in, lady. No wonder why. And I was like, oh my gosh. And I'll be honest with you, I did not know what to say. I seriously got my tongue at that point. I was like, okay, guys, let's finish the workshop. We'll hit everything later. And everybody was like, ooh, Toby got quiet.
So what was it that you did? What did you modify based on her reaction? What did you change? Did you change the way that you were giving the information? Or did you change the way that you were instructing the teachers? What was the next move?
So that's when it really hit me that these skills are not taught. Some of them are inborn, but these are the crucial skills for life. I saw it with Josh and Jake. You know, nobody really focused on those skills, but Josh did so much better than Jake did. And I saw it with this teacher. Had some of the missing skills. She did have some. She was an extremely charismatic, wonderful person, but she couldn't collaborate with anyone.
Right.
So when I had seen this, I realized it was like, okay, so there's nobody teaching the skills that employers are looking for, because her employer put her online and said, listen, if you're not changing things, then you're out of here. So she knew she really got to get to work over there. So It was like, why aren't we taught these skills? Why aren't these skills a bigger focus than learning how to do fractions or whatever we want to say? This is like, my daughter's like, what do I need to know this for? And that's when it really hit me. It was like, oh yeah, really, what's going on?
And so what did you do? Did you, because I think before we went live, a lot of people were asking, I guess they looked you up, especially on LinkedIn. And they're like, okay, so what's her magic thing? What are we not learning? What are some of the top 1, 2, or 3 things that you're actually teaching in your workshops that people are missing out on? Because I agree. I think our education system is got its hands full, and we teach a lot of things that we won't utilize. I mean, I've never used algebra again, just little things like that. And so I think people are hungry for what you're talking about, but maybe they don't know how to access it, or maybe what some of the top things that they should be focusing on are.
Wonderful. So a lot of the things I find is the baseline for these soft skills is what raises productivity, what raises the relationships in the groups, and gives them the skills to go ahead to move forward. So many times I see people struggling with time management. How are they really supposed to manage their time well? Take a look at myself. 4 girls at home. None of them are in school right now. I posted 2 days ago is I had a special needs kid at my house. I actually had another child that's mom had a baby that just needed another hand. How am I seriously doing it all? And I'll tell you the truth, I am not. I am just learning how to manage my time.
Right.
It's like, which balls do I need up in the air and which ones can I put down? So that's really the truth of it. Is I got the same 24 hours as everyone, but I got to learn what to focus on and how to set these few things up.
How do you do it? How do you focus?
How do I focus? So that will go back to my soft skills, my time management. And I always say the initial step before you take a look at your soft skills is I need awareness. I really need to know what's going on and willing to take the next step. Because I'm aware right now I'm struggling a lot. You see it on my face. I can tell you every single wrinkle where it's coming from. So I'm juggling a lot, and everybody is. Let's not kid ourselves. We are all juggling a tremendous, tremendous amount. Whether that would be the remote meeting that, like, all of a sudden my daughter walked in pajamas, and all of a sudden the CEO's over there was like, gosh, right? And then, like, just remembering that load in the washing machine and just remembering that the phone call actually happened, or the emails that I forgot to send, or the emails that are waiting to be sent out, and the proposal that's in the works and all that. So we all are juggling a tremendous, tremendous amount. The question is how are we streamlining it? Where are we? And then once we are where we could take the next steps is, there's a way to set up your time management. Most of us are familiar with the D's. We got to drop, do, and delegate. Focus on priorities. But before we can even focus
do, or
on
delegate, I hadn't heard that before. Drop, do, or delegate. It's like stop, drop, and roll, but different. This is for time management. Drop, do, or delegate. I love it. That's great.
Yeah, so it would also be setting up the schedule in place, right? We need a schedule, but I always say before you set up a schedule, you need a framework. You need the awareness of what that schedule actually should look like. So it's a lot of awareness that you need, and then your soft skills come into play. For example, I managed my time well, had to send out a contract, am running late. Now my soft skills are going to come into play. My soft skill known as communication is going to come into play. How am I going to reach out to that particular client or particular lead or particular prospect to tell them what's going on? What am I going to say and how am I going to say it? So that's a soft skill. And that's what's going to get me the lead. That's what's going to get me the deal. Not that I had sent out the contract, it's how it was done. And that's so what's important.
So what would you have done? That's so important because I think you're right. It's your people, they don't call it soft skills, but they rely on their charisma or their whatever their background skill is, or you're so nice, people would probably be like, it's okay, you didn't send the contract, just send it when you get a chance, Toby. But you have rely on that. So what would you have done differently to help the guy who didn't get the internship out?
So at that point, as I took the step back, I reached out to the manager, found out where he was lacking and what he needs to go ahead to do well. Time management was a big one, and he had no idea what it means to collaborate with a team, whether his idea was best or his idea was just stupid. He said it in a nice way, but he still called it stupid. So it was, how can we make this work? How can we get the best of a team? Hey, what does it mean to come on time? Or what does time management look like? He also messed up sorely with his communication with clients. He said the wrong things, the wrong time, wrong channels, and clients were like,
yeah. I know people like that. I think we all know people like that, right? We all know people who you wonder how they even are making it in business because their delivery, their soft skills, their whatever you're talking about, these skills, it's like, I would not want to be your client. And yet they don't have the ability or the skills, or they don't know about them anyway, of how they can think about that. Like, how is your client receiving your message? How are you delivering your message? And that's critical. I see people fail all the time because they have absolutely no idea how to collaborate, and they have no idea to have an intelligent, impactful, adult conversation with their clients.
Oh, yeah. And I find that it builds creativity when you know how to collaborate well. Motivation happens. How are you motivating your staff goes back onto communication, goes back onto team collaboration. You really want to get the most out of your staff, you got to know how to motivate them. Phenomenal story. What ended up happening is I was working in a company, and they got it was a new supervisor that came in with I was working with the CEO at that point. They got a new supervisor, and I just asked for credentials and just a little bit of information to know where this supervisor was coming from. And I reached out to the company that the supervisor had worked in. Big bad mistake. They were not really pleasant. They did not have nice things to say about the supervisor. But when I was working with the CEO, I heard some really nice things about him. So I was trying to figure out what was going on. And then I come down, I usually do site visits, and I watch how they interact with one another. And then I come out with my notes of the things that we want to focus on. And I watched him give him some feedback on what was happening or some of the jobs that he was doing. And it was just amazing. I was like, okay, so now I know why you called me down, because you're so self-aware. But he knew how to give that feedback packaged in a way that he would be willing to listen and take it to the next steps. Fast forward 2 years, this supervisor is phenomenal. The headhunters are after him because he really knows what he's doing. He raised the sales. He got phenomenal teams over there, all because he was coached in the right way. And taking a look at the company that he left, I was like, they really lost a great guy. But you know what? They themselves don't know what's going on. And they keep on having that turnover. I tell companies, if you're having a constant turnover, check yourself first. Don't say that I can't find great hires.
I agree. I've got a company that I work with right now, not Freedom Mortgage, a company that I frequent there. Anyway, it's a long story, but turnover. And I'm like, you've got to start with the top down. What's happening? Your turnover is out of control. So you need to, like you said, check yourself. And a lot of people in the management world think, well, I've made it this far by doing what I do. I must be doing something right. It must be them. Well, if there's a lot of thems and there's only one you, guess what? It's probably you. And so I try when I'm consulting with people to tell them that, which people don't want to hear. All right, I want to know about the workshops. So talk about the workshops.
So the workshops are sweat and tears. I always say if you're not willing to work hard, you're going to get zero results, and I promise you on that. I said, you want to change, you got to work. It's not so simple. I recently had a lead that reached out to me and said, oh, I like the idea of bite size. So in 45 minutes, I'm going to learn how to manage my time. I said, what are you thinking? There's no such a thing as a magic pill. I can't just wave a wand. It's work. Yeah, in 45 minutes, you're going to get a greater awareness. You're going to get tips and tools of a trade. But you have to take it to that next step. And there's that next level. And there's that accountability piece. So generally how my workshops are done between 45 minutes to an hour, it's customized for the focus of exactly what that particular company or business needs. And that's how I make sure that in that 45 minutes, I really put in what is necessary. But it doesn't end there. There's that accountability piece. It was like, I'm going to be on your back. You're going to work very, very, very hard over there. If you really want to see the change, you're really going to have to be ready to do the work that is necessary to have that particular change. And
I
that's with
love
anything
that.
in life.
I
Yeah.
love that because I think the accountability is the piece that is missing so often. It's like these
Soft
people that
skill.
read every self-help book, best business practices book, and they think it's all of a sudden going to come to them through osmosis. They've read it, now they got it, but there's nobody holding them accountable, so they go back to their regular ways that they're used to that weren't producing anything in the first place. So the accountability, I love that. I think it's important.
So what's very interesting is that accountability is actually a soft skill. You know, how can you hold others accountable and hold yourself accountable? That will fall under a soft skill over there. And most people have extreme difficulty in accountability because most people don't want to see themselves in a bad light. So if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to hold myself accountable and not look badly against myself over there. So accountability would be I'm saving face, but I'm not growing. I'm not accepting my failure because I'm not growing. So it's really preparing for that accountability piece to make sure that you're actually moving forward. Is the people know those phone calls that you're not taking or the emails that you're making sure not to read is because you know that they're holding you accountable or they're waiting for something and you did not do what you should have done. So that tells you something
Yes.
about yourself.
My industry, the mortgage side, the industry as a whole does a very poor job of communicating and burying the things that they don't want to deal with. And I feel like that's in a lot of industries, but the mortgage industry as a whole, that's why, I mean, I love freedom because we don't do that. But it's so frustrating to see other companies that I have worked with. They just bury their head instead of addressing it head on. They procrastinate because they feel like that accountability is eventually, it's going to catch up to you guys. I mean, at some point, it's going to get to you. And why not get ahead of it and learn how to cope with it, learn how to manage it especially through the stuff that the workshops that Toby's doing.
So interestingly, just to add just another quick theory going on over there is I had somebody reach out to me and say, Toby, you know what? None of my coaches had actually worked for me. I spent thousands and the hundreds and thousands of dollars of range and none of my coaches worked. What makes you think you're going to work? I said, I'm not going to work if you're not willing to do the work. Yep. I said, you got to be to do the work. So he did. He acknowledged he's willing and ready to go ahead to work hard. But then I held him accountable. And that's when he said, oh, there you go. That was the piece that I needed. I needed that like little bit of the hand holding and the walking over there of being held accountable, of getting that message at night saying, hey, did you make that call?
Right.
Because you know what? I could push up the call for tomorrow. 5-minute call, push it off. Tomorrow you got another thing on your plate, another thing on your schedule. Not tomorrow. We said today. You promised me today. Today it is. I don't care. You're not going to sleep until it's done. So it was that accountability piece. I know sometimes we got to get tough, right?
I love it though. I love the tough love on that because if they could handle it without the tough love and the accountability, they'd be super successful and not need anybody to help them. But most of us don't fall into that category. We need the help. We need the assistance. We need the accountability. You're like a bartender and counselor and coach all rolled into one. But that's what we need. I don't know why we as human beings fight that, because we do. We fight it. We're like, I got this. I know how to do it.
You get the answer, everybody's going to chase after it. Everybody wants to hear that answer.
So true. But I love that you put it into, Corey Warfield popped on LinkedIn and said, awesome live, bite-sized pieces. I love Corey. Because the bite-sized pieces, the reason why I think that's important, is because people, they can only take so much in. We joke, but the attention span of the normal human being is less than it was even 5 years ago because of technology. We don't have it. We need the answer immediately in the first 3 words, and then we give up. And so having accountability and having bite-sized workshops where there's a finite amount of time and then the real work begins is super, super important. All right. So how do people find you? How do people reach out to you? What if they want to utilize you, to get to know you? What's the best way?
So the best way, LinkedIn is absolutely phenomenal. Over there, you could take a look at my website. I also say email me, text me. You can reach me. I'm reachable. May not respond the minute it comes in, but I respond to messages. Eventually, that's going to happen. I got my set time in there. It's like, okay, so today from this time to this time, messages, definitely go ahead to be checked over there. Why are they saying that they cannot see my link over there? You've got to click it. I got a couple of people telling me that they can't see my link. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
But yeah, that's weird. But definitely you can reach me over there. Take a look at my LinkedIn profile. You'll get some more information about me and you'll see the info over there.
Fantastic. All right. So Toby Goldstein, and it's gobitesize.com, or I'll go back in, tag you again on LinkedIn. I've got you on YouTube as well. You guys can reach out to me if you want to get her, but honestly, gobitesize.com, you can reach her. That was phenomenal. I love the bite-size concept, and I love giving people the skills and helping them get fine-tune their skills and the accountability. You're a joy. Thank you so much for being on the show, Toby. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
You were fantastic. Lots of good information, good nuggets. And that's what I want everybody to leave with. So thank you, guys. Thank you so much, Toby. We'll be back later on this afternoon, and we'll see you guys soon.
Yes, thank you.